Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. It was our anniversary party and I stood there holding the mic I never got to use. Everyone turned to stare at me. Not because I said anything, but because I hadn't. The music had cut, the lights dimmed, and Ariana had just stepped forward, heels clicking sharply against the rooftop tile. Her dress the exact shade of sky you see right before a thunderstorm. She looked stunning. She always did. Even now, especially now, I have something to share, she began. And just like that, the room went still. Forks froze mid-air. Wine glasses paused mid-sip. This isn't some impulsive decision, she said. Voice even, practiced, echoing across the rooftop dining room I had rented months ago. Xander and I have grown in different directions. I've outgrown the life we built together. I don't know what hit me harder, her words, or the way she smiled after saying them. That calm lawyer smile. Cold, confident, calculated. Like, this was just another deposition. I hadn't moved. The mic was still in my hand. My palm was sweating. I looked down at the speech I wrote, crumpled slightly at the edge. It started with a joke about the first time we met. She'd spilled coffee on my tie, and I told her it was fate marking its territory. I was going to talk about us, about the vacation house we were saving for, about the name list we'd started for the dog we were getting next spring. She hadn't even looked at me when she said it. That was the worst part. Her eyes scanned the crowd, looking at the people who mattered to her, not the man she used to love. Someone coughed. Someone else muttered, "What the hell?" I think it was Gavin. He was the only one from my side of the guest list. I placed the mic on the table. It made a soft clink against the white linen, almost delicate. And then I walked. No scene, no words, just one foot in front of the other through a maze of stunned expressions. Friends didn't meet my eyes. Her co-workers suddenly found the wallpaper fascinating. A woman in a red dress, I think her name was Carrara, actually winced as I passed, like I was something broken. She didn't want to see. The valet handed me my keys, didn't say a word, smart kid. I drove home in silence. The freeway was empty, like even traffic didn't want to be near me. I didn't put on music, didn't call anyone. My phone buzzed twice, probably messages from people pretending they cared. I didn't check. When I walked in, the living room smelled like jasmine, the candle she always lit when she wanted to feel calm. Her coat was still hanging on the hook, like she hadn't just blown up our lives an hour ago. Half a bottle of red on the counter. 2 glasses. One still had lipstick on it. The table was set. Napkins folded the way she liked. Silverware gleaming. Plates matched. She'd set it for 2. So what was that? A decoy? A parting illusion? Or did she want me to come home, see it, and feel the contrast burn into me? I sat on the couch, didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't throw anything. Though God knows I wanted to. I just sat there, hands on my knees, suit jacket still on, tie still straight. I kept playing it back over and over. Her voice, that smile, the way she didn't even flinch, how she timed it with the music, the lights, the crowd, like a performance. It was a performance, and I just kept thinking, what had I missed? What hadn't I seen? We hadn't been perfect. Sure, her work hours were insane, and mine weren't much better, but I thought we were functional, stable, even building something quietly dependable, like 2 grown-ups finally getting it right after the messy trial runs of our 20s. Turns out, I was just a placeholder, a temporary fixture for the version of herself she no longer needed. 3 days passed, no call, no knock at the door, no apology, just a text exactly 12 hours after she blew up our lives in front of 80 people. Let's handle this like adults. I'll have my lawyer contact you next week. I stared at the message for an hour, tried typing something, deleted it, tried again, deleted that too. What the hell do you say to someone who just ended your marriage like a PR statement? Then my phone rang, unknown number, local. I let it ring halfway through before I picked up, expecting some formal voice from a law office offering me paperwork and condolences. "Mr. Parker," the voice said, deep and clipped. "This is he. This is Oscar Smith, managing partner at Wexford Solutions, Ariana's firm. I was hoping we could meet." "It's regarding Ariana." I stood up without realizing it. My stomach twisted. "Regarding the divorce?" "No," he said. "Regarding the files?" "Files?" He gave me an address for a conference room downtown. Quiet, neutral, not the firm's offices. He asked if I could come immediately. Something in his tone, controlled but tight, made it feel like this wasn't just another corporate meeting. There was professional urgency, sure, but beneath that, a hint of something else. Quiet panic. I showed up 10 minutes early. The hallway was cold, windowless, sterile in that temporary legal rental kind of way. Oscar Smith was already there, suit perfect, cufflinks gleaming but his eyes shadowed like he hadn't slept in days. 2 other people were in the room, a woman with an IT badge clipped to her lanyard and a man I recognized from a legal journal. Seth. Something. Corporate shark makes headlines when firms are in trouble. Oscar stood as I entered. "Mr. Parker, thank you for coming." He gestured toward the seat across from him. "Please sit. We have a situation." The IT woman nodded stiffly. Seth didn't bother to smile. Oscar continued. "We're missing data. Sensitive data, confidential client profiles, high-profile accounts, information that until recently only Ariana had regular access to." My stomach clenched. "I don't know what kind of data." He steepled his fingers enough to tank our credibility, possibly exposed clients to federal-level scrutiny. Jesus. Oscar looked at the IT woman who tapped a key and turned a monitor toward me. 3 nights ago, grainy security footage filled the screen. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m. There she was, Ariana, hair pulled back, black blazer tailored to perfection, heels clicking on the tile. She paused outside the secured document room, looked over her shoulder twice, then slid a flash drive into the port. I blinked. It was like watching a stranger in a familiar body. Oscar's voice was low. We confronted her. She denied it, said it was a personal backup for her active cases. Why would she? She knew better. The system logs don't lie. She bypassed our internal encryption protocols. I didn't know what to say. Part of me still thought this had to be a mistake, a glitch, a mix-up. Ariana was calculated, yes, but criminal. Oscar leaned forward. What's worse, her recent browser history suggests she's been communicating with Kensington Co. He let the name hang there. I blinked again. The firm's biggest rival. She's planning to leave, Oscar said, folding his hands, possibly taking clients with her. He didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Just let that bomb drop between us like it was Tuesday. But here's where it gets interesting. He slid a piece of paper across the table toward me. This is your name. I stared down at the document. Familiar. My old contractor form. Black ink. Company header. My signature in the bottom corner like a ghost of a former life. You were hired 2 years ago to upgrade our internal security system through the infrastructure. Team. Not legal. Ariana wouldn't have known. I nodded slowly, memories flickering to life. Late nights configuring nodes, testing security redundancies, silently marveling that a firm as prestigious as Harrison Mayfield had such a mess behind the scenes. Xander Oscar said carefully, your access credentials are still active. The backup system you built is still online. And from what our tech lead says, he glanced at the woman beside him. She gave a tight nod. It's still recording. That's when it hit me. Not the professional betrayal, not the humiliation, but this twist of irony so perfect it almost made me laugh. Ariana thought she'd deleted the evidence. She had no idea who had designed the system. She had tried to erase my system. Oscar leaned in, voice low and tight with controlled urgency. Can you help us retrieve the files? Quietly, discreetly. Of course, we're not pressing charges, not yet. But we need proof. And frankly, we trust you more than we trust our own partner, right? Now, I didn't answer. Not immediately. I just looked back at the monitor, the image frozen on her face. Ariana glancing over her shoulder. So sure, so precise, walking into the firm like she owned every inch of it. But what she didn't realize was this. She hadn't just betrayed me. She hadn't just broken the rules. She had crossed into a domain she didn't understand. And now the man who built the firewall had stopped protecting her. I stood slowly, tucking the paper into my jacket. They handed me a flash drive with the footage, a printed system access log, and more silence than I'd felt in years. It followed me like smoke all the way down the elevator into my car across half the city. She thought she'd wiped her tracks. She thought no one would look twice. And she definitely thought I was out of the picture. But here's the thing about building digital security. It's not just about blocking intrusions. It's not about stopping people from making mistakes. It's about logging every single one. I designed the backup architecture for Wexford Solutions 2 years ago. Internal redundancies, hourly versioning, and an off-site data mirror tucked so deep in the code, even most of their IT team forgot it existed. Ariana had deleted the local logs, but she hadn't touched the backups. And her mistake, her fatal mistake, was assuming I'd walked away from the firm when the contract ended. She must have thought I was just some freelance ghost, a name on paper long gone and forgotten. What she forgot was I built the bones of that system. I knew where everything lived, knew how it breathed. That same night, I pulled my old drive from a drawer in the desk, still labeled Back Archive and faded Sharpie, plugged it in, and waited. The login prompt appeared. I typed my credentials, hit enter, access granted. She hadn't even changed the default admin key. I let out a dry breath, part disbelief, part pity. Sloppy Ari, I muttered. You always triple-check the oven, but left the front door wide open. Within 20 minutes, I had her entire activity trail mapped. Every keystroke, every file path, every terminal session, timestamp deletions, external storage, port activations, folders accessed that were clearly marked confidential and internal use only. It was all there, undeniable, and brutally precise, like a breadcrumb trail made of neon signs. I clicked deeper into the logs, watching the heat map light up. The metadata didn't just show when she copied files. It showed what she copied, who they belonged to. Dozens of client folders, sensitive investment strategies, internal reviews, risk profiles, client communications, all bundled. She'd packaged them into folders with names like Migration Candidates, BDSW, Pitch Version 2. My eyes narrowed on the last one, Migration Business Development. That folder alone had 5 subfolders, each one named after a high-net-worth client I recognized from my time at the firm. The cursor blinked on the screen like it was waiting for me to say something, but there was nothing left to say. I had the receipts, every folder name, every access time, every data transfer, the whole damn trail of it. She wasn't just backing up her work. She was rebuilding her client book file by stolen file for her new firm. It was also calculated, so clean. Even the messages I found buried in those private Word docs were clinical. Finalize exit pitch. Focus on value prop for high net worth clients. Keep tone neutral but stronger than Smith's last Q2 numbers. Leverage trust. Not even sent through email. Just drafted like she was writing ad copy for a hostile takeover. And then like a goddamn arrow to the chest, I opened the folder labeled Exec Summary Kensington Company. Scanned excerpts from internal, billing reports, proprietary analysis breakdowns, client satisfaction ratings side by side with predictive churn models. She didn't just steal contact info. She was selling insight, packaging our private firm strategy as if it were a PowerPoint deck she came up with over lunch. And the emails, the ones labeled Initial Package Review, Confidential or Proof, she had already sent them. I sat back in my chair. The fan in my system hummed like a lullaby. It was nearly 3 a.m. My inbox had 47 unread emails. My wife was gone. My marriage wasn't just broken. It had been gutted with surgical precision. But for the first time in days, I didn't feel powerless. I felt precise. No rage, no grief, just steps. I started packaging the evidence, not all at once. No emotion, just like I used to build firewall response flows. Step by step, control by control. I encrypted everything, uploaded it to a secure vault. Then I created a read-only bundle for Oscar Smith, labeled and sorted internal timestamps, folder mappings, access logs, 90-day heat map overlay, and at the end, one final note. Ariana has been logging in through a VPN tied to a private IP on Capitol Hill, likely her sister's apartment. Recommend checking mobile device registry. She accessed the drive via tablet not listed on the firm's approved hardware. I clicked send. Not 5 minutes passed before my phone buzzed. Oscar Smith. I answered, "Yeah." His voice was low, tight. "Xander, this is more than we thought." I said nothing. "You just saved us from a massive liability breach," he continued. Still nothing from me, just the quiet hum of a system that never forgot. "There's going to be an emergency partner meeting in the morning," he said. "We'd like you to attend as an outside advisor." I paused. "Does Ariana know?" "No," he said flatly. "But she will?" I hung up and sat there in the dark for a long time, staring at the screen, at her trail of decisions, at the arrogance in every file name. She could have ended the marriage quietly, could have told the truth, could have left without turning me into collateral damage. But instead, she wanted the spotlight. Now she was about to get it back. Only this time I'd be holding the mic. The boardroom was quieter than I'd expected. 12 people sat around the long walnut table, 8 senior partners, 2 from internal compliance, the head of IT, and Oscar Smith seated at the head. The weight in the room wasn't just silence, it was tension, the kind that settled between polished shoes and unspoken suspicions. Ariana wasn't there yet. In front of every seat was a legal pad and a glass of water. Mine was labeled consultant. It still felt strange, not because I didn't belong, but because 2 weeks ago, I was just the guy in the shadows, the one patching silent vulnerabilities no one else even noticed, while my wife sipped Chardonnay at industry galas and called herself the breadwinner. Now I was about to walk the firm through the breach that could have sunk them. Oscar stood, up first, formal but with something harder behind his voice. "Everyone, this is Xander Parker." 12 sets of eyes landed on me. I nodded once. He was the original architect of our off-site security and redundancy system. Oscar continued, "Contracted through infrastructure back in 2021. He paused, then added, "He's also the arranged husband of Ariana Parker." A ripple went through the room, subtle raised brows. A glance exchanged between 2 partners. Not surprise, curiosity. I stepped forward and plugged in the drive. "Everything I'm about to show you," I said steady, "was recovered from your mirrored off-site server. It's still live, still recording, and as of this week, still syncing." I tapped the keys, and the room dimmed slightly as the screen projection flickered to life. A timeline lit up. Ariana's login, file movements, timestamps layered in data trails no one in legal would have even thought to check. "You'll notice an anomaly," I said starting 6 weeks ago. "Specific folders accessed late at night outside her standard hours. Files copied, deleted locally, but not removed from the mirror environment." I opened the first folder. Client strategy memos, financial forecasts, internal billing data sorted by client tier. Silence. I let it breathe. Then I opened the email. Drafts, not sent, just written, composed. Pitch letters, exit planning documents, key targets labeled by initials. I zoomed in on one. "That's DH. I said, "I believe that corresponds to Daniel Hale." "Yes." A few heads nodded. "And this one? LS Linda, Sandoval, Private Wealth Division." A low exhale from someone near compliance. Finally, I pulled up the VPN connection locks. All connections originated from a private IP associated with a Capitol Hill townhouse, I said. Property records confirm it's registered to Ariana's sister. Then I said it without flinching. Ariana was building a transition package. She planned to walk out with these files and leverage them for a partner offer from your main competitor. Silence. Even the AC hum felt muted. One of the senior partners, tall, lean, white hair, the kind of man whose face I'd seen on plaques and glossy PR shots, leaned forward. "Does she know you have this?" Oscar shook his head. "Not yet." Another partner, more cautious, asked, "Does she know you're here?" Before anyone could answer, the door opened. Ariana walked in, hair perfect, jacket crisp, heels clicking like punctuation, no makeup out of place. And then she saw me. Her expression barely changed, but I saw it, that half-second flicker, disbelief, masked in professionalism. Then she covered it with a faint, rehearsed smile. "Xander," she said, coolly, as if she were walking into a design review and not the aftermath of a career implosion. She moved to the empty chair 2 seats down from me, deliberately not taking the one next to Oscar. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't flinch, but I did expect you here." Oscar gestured for her to sit. His expression didn't waver. "Ariana, thank you for coming. We've reviewed some information regarding recent access irregularities on the firm's secure drive system." Her eyes flicked to the screen behind me. That's when I saw it, the moment it hit her. A microsecond of hesitation, then realization bloomed behind her eyes like a fuse catching flame. She masked it fast, but not fast enough. "This is absurd," she said, her voice tight, already bristling. "I was organizing my case files for transition. Everything I accessed was mine." "No," I said, my voice steady. "It was the firms and the clients, the timing, the method, the external connections. They suggest premeditated data exfiltration." She snapped her head toward me, eyes flashing. "Excuse me?" Oscar raised a hand. Ariana Xander recovered full logs from our mirrored server that includes access timestamps, file extractions, and your use of unauthorized hardware. We've also traced VPN traffic to an address off-site. She froze a beat. Then the mask cracked just a hair. Rage flickered behind her composure. "You went into my files!" She hissed at me. I didn't blink. "I protected those files before you even knew. They existed. You just didn't realize the system recorded everything." She stood, arms tense at her sides. "This is a setup," she snapped. "He's doing this because I filed for divorce." Oscar didn't miss a beat. "And you sabotaged your own career doing it," he said, cold and flat. "You've put this firm at massive legal risk. Our ethics committee will be reviewing your conduct. Your client list has been quarantined, pending investigation." "Pending?" added one of the compliance officers from the far end of the table. "A full digital forensics audit." Ariana laughed. Short, bitter, disbelieving. "This is a witch hunt. You're taking his side. He's not even a lawyer." "No," I said, "but I know the law and I have proof." She stared at me then. Really stared like she was trying to find something solid to stand on, but the floor kept shifting beneath her heels. Her jaw clenched. "You're going to regret this," she said, voice low and tight like a wire about to snap. I stood slowly, gathered the folder in front of me. "No, Ariana," I said quietly. "I already did. This is just cleanup." She didn't respond. Didn't need to. The fire behind her eyes said it all. She wasn't beaten. She was recalculating, even as she stood there in that perfectly tailored jacket, stripped of all the power she thought she'd walked in with. She was already reshaping the narrative. Ariana didn't come home that night, not that I expected her to. Her silence wasn't retreat. It was strategy. I knew that look in her eyes. I'd seen it back in the ballroom at the Langston fundraiser. The moment she realized she could outshine the guest of honor with one well-placed smile, she was already rewriting the story, framing herself as the betrayed one. By morning, the firm had issued a formal internal statement, brief, clinical, and unmistakably serious. Ariana Parker was under investigation. All her active case files were reassigned, her credentials suspended, her access revoked, her office sealed that afternoon. Oscar called again just after lunch. His voice was dry, almost bored. She loitered up, he said, claims she'll cooperate, but insists this was all a misunderstanding. I didn't respond. Not right away. I was watching the rain trail across the office window, slow and deliberate, like a truth catching up. She says she was backing up files for personal review, he added. Still, I said nothing. Oscar sighed. She also claims you broke into her accounts, that the evidence is invalid. Conflict of interest. That made me chuckle. Not out of amusement, out of disbelief. She forgot she signed off on my access 2 years ago. There's an executed security indemnity in your archives. She initialized it on page 3. I already sent it to legal, Oscar replied. We're covered. Then he paused. And when he spoke again, his voice carried a weight I hadn't heard before. Xander, what she did, it goes beyond firm misconduct. There's a chance we'll have to escalate this to the state. Bear. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Do what you have to do. Then I hung up. 2 hours later, her name lit up on my screen. Ariana. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. She didn't say hello. No pleasantries, no mask, just venom, sharp and cold. You blindsided me. I didn't answer. You humiliated me at my own firm. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Payback, say, I said finally. Because I seem to recall you doing something similar at our anniversary party. That was personal, she snapped. This is professional. You crossed the line, Xander. No, I said. You did. I just turned on the lights. Silence. It stretched so long. I thought she'd hung up. Then softer, less anger, more calculation. I can fix this, she said. If you retract the report, we can clean this up internally. I'll resign quietly. No bar review, no permanent record. I almost laughed. Almost. You don't get to negotiate after the damage is done. I didn't steal anything, she said, sharper now. I was taking what I built. My clients, my work, my legacy. You used privileged information that didn't belong to you. You copied confidential data, attempted to conceal your tracks, and coordinated with a competitor to sabotage your own firm. I let the words hang in the air like smoke. That's not legacy, Ariana, I said. That's betrayal. She went quiet again, and when she finally spoke, there was something fragile behind the words. Not regret, not apology, just weary ambition. I just didn't want to waste another decade stuck under Oscar, she said quietly. I deserve more. You deserved honesty, I told her. You chose leverage. She didn't deny it. We could have had something clean, Ariana, I said. You could have ended the marriage with dignity. I heard her breath catch just faintly. But you wanted a spectacle. My voice was cold now, steel-cut and certain. You wanted power. So now I paused. Now you get consequence. She sighed, a slow, bitter drag of air through clenched teeth. I guess this is war then. No, I said evenly. War takes 2 people trying to win. And then I ended the call. By nightfall, the ripples had already begun. Quiet ones, but deliberate whispers in legal Slack groups, screenshots exchanged in private messages, a quiet scandal bubbling under the surface. Ariana had always played the game like chess, not poker. She thought moves ahead. She counted pieces. But now her ambition had a timestamp, a paper trail, and unfortunately for her, a witness. She wanted control. She just lost everything she tried to control. And I hadn't raised my voice once. 3 days after that call, her name disappeared from the firm's partner shortlist. Not a whisper, not a footnote, just gone like she'd never been there at all. Her bio vanished from the website sometime around 2 a.m. I checked. There was no announcement, no farewell email, just digital dust. But I wasn't celebrating, not yet, because I knew Ariana, and Ariana never left without trying to flip the board on her way out. That Friday, I got the knock on my apartment door around noon. Hand delivery, legal stationery. The envelope felt heavier than it should have, as if The weight of denial could actually be measured in grams. Top corner, her attorney's letterhead. Inside, a cease and desist, accusations, violation of marital privacy, improper access to private digital property, and my personal favorite, manipulation of firm systems to falsely implicate a partner in corporate misconduct. I took it straight to Oscar. He read the letter, once leaned back and tossed it across the table like it was junk mail. "Desperate play," he muttered. "They know they don't have a case." "I figured," I said, "but I want to respond formally." Oscar raised an eyebrow, going for the throat. "No," I said, "just clarity." That afternoon, I drafted a single-page reply, civil, composed, airtight. I attached a copy of the 2021 security contract between myself and Wexford Solutions, complete with Ariana's signature and initials on page 3 authorizing my systems-level access, then metadata logs showing that the data trail didn't just lead to Ariana's credentials, it began there. I included time-stamped security footage from 3 separate angles, her at her desk plugging in an unauthorized drive downloading restricted files, and I finished it off with an affidavit from our current IT director confirming the chain of custody. At the bottom, I added one final line. "My client has no interest in prolonged litigation, only truth. Should your client continue to assert false claims, we will be prepared to file a countersuit for defamation and obstruction of an internal corporate investigation." They went quiet. 36 hours of nothing but digital crickets. Then Oscar called again. "She's backed off," he said her. "Lawyer just informed us she'll resign officially by end of day. No severance, no transition clause. She's walking away from everything," he added. I exhaled, not relief, just release. But one loose and still frayed at the edge. Kensington Company, the firm Ariana had been courting behind everyone's back, the place she'd angled herself toward for months. They played innocent, pretended to know nothing about her side deals or the confidential files she had planned to bring over. But now that her resignation was official, the ethics team had compiled a report of concern and forwarded it to the state bar. They'd included the firm's internal legal team in the disclosure chain. That afternoon, my voicemail lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I let it go. 10 minutes later, curiosity got the better of me, and I played it back. The voice was polished, controlled, practiced. "Mr. Parker, good afternoon. This is Jonathan Leary, managing partner at Kensington Company. I wanted to personally reach out regarding a matter concerning Miss Ariana Parker. We've recently been made aware of certain materials attributed to her, and I want to confirm that no such files were ever received or reviewed by anyone within our firm. Effective immediately, we are terminating all discussions related to any prospective employment with Miss Parker. We thank you for your discretion and for protecting the integrity of the legal profession." Translation: they were washing their hands of her. She'd set fire to her own future, and now the very people she'd hoped to impress were retreating, like she'd shown up, wearing gasoline. That night my phone buzzed again, this time a text. "Ariana, you destroyed me." I stared at the screen. It felt like a paper cut across an old scar, not deep, just familiar. I typed back slowly. "Me? No, Ariana. I just showed them who you really were." Send. 2 weeks later, I got a certified letter addressed to Ariana, Washington State Bar Association. She hadn't updated her address yet, or maybe she just didn't want to. Inside, notification of a formal ethics investigation, charges, misuse of client data, attempted breach of fiduciary duty, intent to solicit active accounts for personal gain. Oscar Smith had filed the complaint himself. He sent me a copy, not as a weapon, but as a closing statement. "Not out of spite," he said over the phone. Closure. She made her choice. Now she gets the weight of it. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. "And the clients, all of them," he said. "We spoke to each one. Full transparency. Most were understanding, some not so much, but no one's leaving. No one." Her masterstroke, her leap forward, had landed in a ditch, burned bridges, empty folders, and a bar panel with her name on top. I didn't gloat, didn't smile, didn't feel vindicated. What I felt, if anything, was peace. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't living in the exhaust of someone else's ambition. I was just living. That weekend, I cleared out the guest room. Ariana hadn't stayed in the house since the fallout, but her things lingered like ghosts. Suitcases half-zipped, designer bags stacked in corners, a dozen framed certificates leaning against the wall like trophies with no home. I boxed everything up, labeled it neatly, called a courier service, and sent it all to her sister's place in Capitol Hill. No note, no message, just silence, the kind that speaks loudest. Later that evening, I sat on the back deck with a drink in hand, watching the sky burn gold over Lake Union. The water shimmered, boats drifted, and for the first time, I wasn't waiting for the next blow. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from one of the firm's junior partners, Claire. We'd met briefly during the boardroom fallout. She'd been the only one who looked at me like I wasn't just Ariana's husband. "Hey," the message had read, "I heard what you did. Bold move, honest, rare. If you ever want to grab coffee, not for work, just because." It was from Claire, the junior partner from the fallout meeting, the one with the calm eyes and quiet mind that didn't need to shout to be heard. I stared at the screen for a second, smiled, and typed back, "Me? Sometime soon." That was it. No flirting, no anticipation of anything. Just acknowledgement. A door. Not opened, but not locked either. Truth is, I didn't need revenge anymore. Didn't need her to come crawling back. Didn't need some cinematic moment where she begged for forgiveness, and I walked away like some courtroom drama hero. I'd already won quietly by holding the line, by telling the truth, by making sure the person who tried to tear down everything I'd built ended up exactly where she belonged. Alone, outplayed, and out of options. 3 months passed. The Barr investigation concluded, not with a bang, but with the smallest whisper, a footnote on the Washington State Bar's website. No drama, no headlines, no theatrics, just one line. Ariana, Parker, license suspended, pending review. That single sentence buried in a PDF said everything. In our world, reputations don't die loudly. They erode quietly. Whispers and firm lounges, doubts and hiring meetings, the look someone gives a name on a resume before they slide it into the no pile. Her career, years of late nights of ladder climbing and moral compromises reduced to an asterisk. I heard she moved to Portland not long after. Word got around that she was trying to restart. New firms, new faces, but the cloud followed her like a curse. No one wants to bring in a fire risk, especially not one who lit the match herself. She didn't reach out again. Not a call, not a text, just silence. It suited me. Back home, the house felt different, lighter. I repainted the walls, tore out the shelves she insisted were essential to the aesthetic, donated the espresso machine she never let me touch, and I adopted a dog. Shaggy, sleepy mutt I named Oscar, part tribute, part poetic justice. He snored like a freight train and had a deep spiritual dislike for loud noises and chaos. We got along perfectly. We're picked up too. Oscar sent a quiet word out to his network. 6 new firms came knocking, all needing real cybersecurity help. Not just shiny PowerPoint slides. Actual structure, protection, integrity. Turns out that sells, especially when you've got the receipts. One morning, I stopped by Wexford Solutions to install an endpoint encryption patch. It was a routine job, but when I walked through the glass corridor leading to the executive suites, I spotted a familiar face waving me down. "Claire?" She stepped out of a meeting and smirked. "So," she said, arms crossed casually, still quiet on the revenge front. I grinned. "Quiet is good." She nodded, leaning on the doorframe. "Drinks this week? Thursday?" I said, not even pretending to hesitate. It wasn't a date. Not exactly, but it wasn't nothing either. And that's the thing. I didn't need a dramatic ending. No thunderclap, no emotional showdown, just peace. Ariana tried to destroy 2 things, my name and my self-respect. And in the end, she didn't just lose both of her plans. She lost the very thing she thought she could manipulate forever: trust, legacy, and the illusion of control. I didn't ruin her. She did that all by herself. All I did was document it properly. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.